So I'm going to show you how I reshape a shrubs kind of sympathetically in this refereeing sort of style that I'm trying to do the minimum, because what I'm trying to advocate is that you do the minimum amount of gardening necessary to achieve the aims that you have. See, this is one of the pittosporums that I'm going to try and reshape, but in a way that you won't really notice it too much. Now, the other one is an even bigger one, and if I come back over here, you'll see on the other side, it's now got far too big and is just taking over too much of this border. So I'm going to do that one second, and I'm going to show you what we need to do. This shrub kind of grows, it's narrower at the base, and it's much wider at the top. So it's taking all the light and it just looks a bit overgrown. But if I just come and cut sort of around and shape it round here, and like with a power tool, all I'm going to get is a kind of a big giant green blob. And I don't want a giant green blob in the garden. I want a green plant. So I'm going to show you how to do it differently. Now, the issue that I've got with this pittosporum, if I come round here, is that I've just got my rambling rose here, which if I go up, as you see, it's got quite tall, but it's growing into the pittosporum. So I don't want to damage the rose. So how am I going to do this, and what's the process? Well, we're going to come inside the pittosporum, and what I want you to see is this. You get lots of new growth inside the shrub. The problem with power tool pruning is, if I just pan back here, you cut off, say, to here, you get a very thin crust of leaf on the outside of the plant and a really dark, dense, twiggy undergrowth. Now that's not healthy for the plant, it really isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, let me just see if I can give you better, I'm going to prune from the inside to thin, because you can see here, this will regrow from the branches. So if I give it some light, I will get new growth coming up from the inside of this bush, and I will reshape it without it looking like a giant green blob. So, what have I done, and why have I done what I've done? Well, let me take you round the back of the pittosporum, but I think you can see already it doesn't look as though it's top heavy anymore. It's not going out into the middle of the lawn as much as it did, but neither does it look like a blob. So this is what we've done, and I'll tell you why. Let me just squeeze in behind the bush here. You can see now from originally there is a lot more light that has got into this shrub. So I've taken out all of the really big thick branches that were growing upright up in here. This is going to allow light down into here, which is going to make everything grow more vertical. Now, because I've then removed all the branches that were pushing down on the branches below, those branches will now start to grow upwards towards the light, which will narrow the shrub because everything is being able to grow vertically. Now, I might still take some of these off on the side if they don't start to grow more vertically, but you can see now they've got light above them. They'll naturally move up that way, which will take the weight and the darkness away from these ones, and these ones will move more upright, leaving the lower leaves to be able to bush out, and that will rebalance the shrub. I wanted to show you how it looks when it's been finished. So there you are, it's now done. Now I'm sure some of you will be going, yeah, but it looks really messy and it looks a bit untidy. Well, this is what I've done. You need to give it a few days, okay? But gardening is not about instant results. It's always about time and patience. So you can see there's now dappled light coming in, which means every single leaf that's in the canopy there now is going to now, over the next couple of days, head towards the light. So I've reduced the width of this by pulling some of the shrubs branches into the centre. So it looks a bit untidy to start with now, but give it a couple of days and it'll all reorient itself towards the light. And this way you actually give the plant a much less intensive and harsh trimming. It can cope with it. Now, next year, when these little shoots and things in there have grown, I can reduce the width of the outside of the plant without it again stressing this beautiful bush, which is lovely, this Pittosporum. And as you can see now, the one I did even earlier today, you don't really notice that it's actually been cut that much, but I have cut everything. This is all about trying to make your life easier and helping the plant grow better. So if you don't use a hedge trimmer, you will enable the plant to grow in a more natural way. If it grows in a natural way, it does what it does by itself, which means you won't have to interfere to keep it in the shape and size that you want it to. You're not creating an artificial shape, which you then have to maintain more often. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. We've got lots more advice on the website, plantplots.com. It's packed with garden design advice, with planting ideas and helpful hints to help you make your garden better. And please do hit the subscribe now button. Thank you for watching.